Want to build a calendar app in SwiftUI with SwiftData using MVVM? This is the perfect place to start. This is the application we will create. We can create a new task by clicking on any date within the calendar. Each of the tasks will be stored within SwiftData. So the task I will add for this example is mow the lawn. Priority, medium. The task is now added to SwiftData. As you can see, because I added the task to SwiftData, it displays the count on the calendar date that one task has been added. If I add another task, it will increment to 2. For this task, I'll just name it wash the car. Priority low. Click on add. As you can see, it has now been incremented to 2. We can also search for tasks within SwiftData. If I type in CAR, as you can see, car is selected at the top of the list, and we can display all tasks within SwiftData. We can also delete a task. And when I delete the task, the count on the calendar date will be reflected. As you can see, it was 2 originally, and now it's been reduced to 1. So this is the actual application that we'll be creating in this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials. The first thing we need to do is to create our new data model, which is called task. So this will be a Swift file. And the purpose of this data model is to enable the task to be stored within that model, which is a data table. Select Swift file. Name the file task. Import SwiftUI. Import SwiftData. Type the following: app model, class, and then the name of our data table, which is called task. And then we need to add our attributes that will be within our data table. We need a unique ID. We also need another attribute, which is called title, because each task includes a title. And each task needs a date. Each task includes a priority. Next thing we need to do is to implement our initializer. Should be UID. And then it's title, string, date, priority, self dot priority equals priority. And lines 18, there shouldn't be a colon there after bar. Need to delete that one. So it should be self.id equals to ID. And yeah, we need self.title is equal to title. So anything else missing? Value of type task has no member title. Title should be lowercase t on line 18. Make the language translator functional. The first thing we need to do is register for an API key. In this lesson, we will create the downloading translation view. So within the application, when the user enters the text that they want to be translated, for example, if I enter hello, and I want that to be translated from English to Spanish, when I click on translate, you'll see a view above here, which will display the word downloading. Learn to build a language translator apps with SwiftUI Master UI Design, API integration, and hands-on projects. Enroll now and start building. The next file we need to create is called task priority. The purpose of this file is to give each task a priority, such as low, medium, or high. We need to create another Swift file. Name the file task priority. Add the following: enum task priority, int 16, case irritable, as we need to loop through each of the cases. Identifiable, case low equals 1, so the urgency for that task is low. Medium equals to 2. It's a little bit more important. Case high equals 3. That means that it's very urgent, high priority. Var ID int 16. Raw value. And the reason why we need that so that it conforms to identifiable when we're looping through the array using the ID. The next thing we need to do is to display the label for each priority. Var label string switch cell case.low return low, which is low priority. Case.medium, it should be a colon, return medium. Case.high, return high. Just compiling at the moment. The next file we need to create is our view model, which is our calendar view model. Select Swift file, name the file calendar view model. The purpose of the view model is to manage the calendar and the task data. Import SwiftUI, import SwiftData at observable. As we need to detect for any changes. Class calendar view model. And I think we also need to import observation just to make sure that it's always compilable. Var selected, it should be selected date equal date, which is the current selected date on the calendar. Var task title, which will be the new task title. Var task date, which is the new task date input by the user. Var task priority, task priority. The default priority is low. Var show modal equals false. Var show all tasks equals false. Search query and also what else do we need? Oh yeah, we need a task an array of tasks. And we also need SwiftData context, which is model context, that will enable the application to fetch and save and manipulate the data within the database, which is SwiftData. We also need to create our initializer, which is context, model context, self.context equals context, fetch, task. So we need to create that method, but I don't think it exists as yet. So we create that method for the next tutorial. And then we also need to add our toggle function, toggle show all tasks, that enables the user to show all of the tasks within their task list, or just to show a task on a certain date, on a specified date. Task.toggle. It should be show all tasks. Show all tasks. On lines 22, there should be an S at the end of show all tasks. And then we also need a method called fetch task. In the next tutorial, we will continue to implement our calendar view model. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials. Want to build a calendar app in SwiftUI with SwiftData using MVVM? This is the perfect place to start. This is the application we will create. We can create a new task by clicking on any date within the calendar. Each of the tasks will be stored within SwiftData. So the task I will add for this example is mow the lawn. Priority, medium. The task is now added to SwiftData. As you can see, because I added the task to SwiftData, it displays the count on the calendar date that one task has been added. If I add another task, it will increment to 2. For this task, I'll just name it wash the car. Priority low. Click on add. As you can see, it has now been incremented to 2. We can also search for tasks within SwiftData. If I type in CAR, as you can see, car is selected at the top of the list. And we can display all tasks within SwiftData. We can also delete a task. And when I delete the task, the count on the calendar date will be reflected. As you can see, it was 2 originally, and now it's been reduced to 1. So this is the actual application that we'll be creating in this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials. In this video, we will implement the features that allows the user to save a task to SwiftData, delete a task from SwiftData, and fetch all tasks from SwiftData. The first thing we need to do within our calendar view model is to create the following function, which is called change month by value, which is an int. And the purpose of this function, it will allow the user to change the month by a given value so that the user can navigate backwards and forwards within the calendar, such as go to April, March, or go back from April to March to February, for example. If let new date is equal to calendar current date, by adding .month value to selected date. And what we need to do is to update the selected date using the new date that the user selecting. Fetch task. So the fetch task function we'll be implementing later. So the next thing we need to do is to create another function called select day. That will accept a date data type. And this will select a specific day and load the task for that date. Selected date equals day. Fetch task. Now we need to enable the user to save the task to SwiftData. Use a guard statement. Task title is empty. So if the task title is empty, then we just exit the function so the user cannot save the new task to SwiftData until the task title has been supplied. So if the task title has been supplied, then we do the following. Task title date, task date, priority, task priority, raw value, try, context, save, attempt to save the new records, the SwiftData, task title equals blank, declare the import, show model equals false, fetch task. And then we need to capture any errors that may happen. Saving task, and then we just show the error to the console. On line 53, we should delete that date. So we should just read how it is on the following, line 53. Should just include the following parameters. The next function we need to create is to enable the user to delete a task from SwiftData. And the tasks are deleted using index set, which is the index element that will be retrieved from the list on the SwiftUI view. So this is index set. For index in offsets, so we're going through the array, get task, index, get the index of the selected object. Now that we have the index of the selected object, we can now attempt to delete that task from SwiftData. We also need a catch block, and the purpose of the catch block is because if the task has been deleted, we need to save that within the context of SwiftData. And then when a task has been deleted, we need to fetch the new records from SwiftData. Then we just display any errors that may have happened. Error deleting task. And then display the error to the console. Really, this error should be thrown to the UI, to the SwiftUI view. I've done previous examples within other tutorials on the channel. On line 71, that should be task. Now we will create our function, which is the fetch task function. But it should be func fetch task. And the purpose of the fetch task function is to load tasks based on filters, search, or just to load all the tasks or tasks selected by a specified date. This is what this function will do. Bar descriptor fetch descriptor. So we'll be fetching an array of tasks for our query, or included in our query will be an array of tasks. If not, search query dot is empty. So if the query contains data and show all tasks is true, then we need to filter the tasks by the search text descriptor equals fetch descriptor task predicate task, and then within our closure that's where we do the comparison task dot title dot localize standard contains and then the bracket on lines 93, the curve bracket, we can delete that one, which is this one here. Now I think it needs to be after lines 93. Yeah, that's it. And then we need another else statement, or we need an else statement, else if, show all tasks. That will mean we need to fetch the tasks without filtering. Descriptor, fetch, descriptor, task. Else, we need to fetch the task for the selected date. Let calendar equals calendar dot current. Let start of day equals calendar start of day for selected date. Let end of day equals calendar dot date by adding dot day value 1 to start of day. The next thing we need to do is to fetch the tasks that fall within the selected day or date as specified by the user. Fetch descriptor task predicate task tasking is what we've done previously with our closure. Task dot date more or equal to start of day, and task dot date is less or equal to end of day. On lines 102, we need the bang operation, the bang operator for false unwrapping, but really we should be using safe unwrapping where possible. The next thing we need to do is to add our do block, and this will be on lines 111. Task equals try context fetch descriptor that will run the fetch within SwiftData, and then we need to capture any errors that may happen, and then just display the error for the console. Now I'll just compile it. Cannot find fetch task. How did we define the function? Oh, yeah, I missed the S at the end. So that should be fetch task to fetch all of the tasks, not just to fetch one task. So that's compiled. So in the next tutorial, we will complete our implementation of our calendar view model, and then we will start to implement our calendar view. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials. Want to build a calendar app in SwiftUI with SwiftData using MVVM? This is the perfect place to start. This is the application we will create. We can create a new task by clicking on any date within the calendar. Each of the tasks will be stored within SwiftData. So the task I will add for this example is mow the lawn. Priority, medium. The task is now added to SwiftData. As you can see, because I added the task to SwiftData, it displays the count on the calendar date that one task has been added. If I add another task, it will increment to 2. For this task, I'll just name it wash the car. Priority low. Click on add. As you can see, it has now been incremented to 2. We can also search for tasks within SwiftData. If I type in CAR, as you can see, car is selected at the top of the list, and we can display all tasks within SwiftData. We can also delete a task. And when I delete the task, the count on the calendar date will be reflected. As you can see, it was 2 originally, and now it's been reduced to 1. So this is the actual application that we'll be creating in this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials. In this tutorial, we will continue to implement the view model to add the following additional functions, such as task count to count the amount of tasks in SwiftData, and other functions to do with date formatting. Want to build your own Connect4 app? Now you can. Download the free source code and start building today. The link is in the description below. The first function we will create is task count to return the number of tasks for a specified date. Task count, which accepts the date as a parameter, and then returns a string of the amount of tasks found for that date. Let count equals task dot filter calendar current is date $sign 0 date in same week. In same day as the date. So if it's in the same day, that means it will group the count together. So if you have 2 tasks within the same day, the count will be 2. Dot count. Return count more than 0. Count so what that does, it shows the count if there's a number available that's more than 0, else it will just show empty. The next function we need to create is called priority label. Func priority label priority int 16 optional that returns a string. Guard let raw priority let label equals task priority raw value raw label else return unspecified else it returns the label. Task priority has no member label, so let's check that. I missed out the L on line 18. It should be label. Go back to it. Just compiling. The next functions we need to create deals with our dates, which is called get month string sets a date object, returns the formatted date as a string. Let formatter equals date formatter. So create an instance of the date formatter. Formatter dot date format equals month, which is 4 M's, and then a 4-digit year, Y, 4 Y's. Return formatter string from date. So what this function will do, it will show the date formatted like this, March 2025. And then we also need to create another function for our calendar that's called getDays in month for date, and then return an array of dates for that month, and that will be used for the calendar. Let range equals calendar dot range. So we need the range of, no, that's not the one. We just need the range. Yeah, that's the one. Dot day, month, and day. And date. Which will return the total amount of days in that month. Let start of month to be capital O. Start of month equals calendar dot date from calendar dot date component year dot month dot date. Should just be date. So what that does, lines 142, it gets the first day of the month. And then the next thing we need to do is to build the date list. Return range dot compact map calendar dot date by adding dot day value $0 -1 to start of month. Start of month. At the end of line 142, we need the bang operator, the exclamation mark. The next thing we need to do is to get the weekday index, which ranges from 0 to 6, and this will be used for the first day of the month. Function get start day of week for date that returns an int. Let calendar equals calendar dot current. Let component equals calendar dot date component year. So we pass year and dot month and we extract the year and the month from the date parameter which we passed into this function, this one here. And then we need to get the first day of the month. First of month equals calendar dot date from components. And then the next thing we need to do is to get the weekday from the calendar component dot weekday first of the month. And then return weekday minus calendar dot first weekday plus 7 mod 7. The next function we need to add is the get background function. And the purpose of this function is to return a background color for a day. Func get day background for date selected date, and then return a color calendar dot current dot is date in same day as the selected date. If it is, then color the date on the calendar to blue, else just let it be the default color, which is opacity 0.1. The next thing we need to do is to format the date to be a readable string. Date string. So the date format will be something like this: March 22, 2025. Let formatter equals date formatter. Formatter dot date style equals dot medium. Return formatter dot string from date. And then the next thing we need to do is to create our array of weekdays. And the reason why we need this is so that we can return a short name version of the day. Func get weekdays that returns an array of string. For the shortened weekdays, or the shortened days will be the following. On Saturday. I'll just space it out a little bit so it's a little bit neater and easier to read. Let's compile it. In our next tutorial, we will start to implement our calendar view. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials. Want to build a calendar app in SwiftUI with SwiftData using MVVM? This is the perfect place to start. This is the application we will create. We can create a new task by clicking on any date within the calendar. Each of the tasks will be stored within SwiftData. So the task I will add for this example is mow the lawn. Priority, medium. The task is now added to SwiftData. As you can see, because I added the task to SwiftData, it displays the count on the calendar date that one task has been added. If I add another task, it will increment to 2. For this task, I'll just name it wash the car. Priority low. Click on add. As you can see, it has now been incremented to 2. We can also search for tasks within SwiftData. If I type in CAR, as you can see, car is selected at the top of the list, and we can display all tasks within SwiftData. We can also delete a task. And when I delete the task, the count on the calendar date will be reflected. As you can see, it was 2 originally, and now it's been reduced to 1. So this is the actual application that we'll be creating in this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials. In this tutorial, we will create our calendar view. The first thing we need to do to create a new SwiftUI file name the file calendar view. And then the next thing we need to do is to add an environment variable. At environment dot model context private var context. And the purpose of adding that environment variable is to access the SwiftData context from the environment. We also need to import SwiftData. We need to create an @state variable to work and to access the functions within our view model, which is called calendar view model. The next thing we need to do is to delete the text element on line 18. Add our vstack spacing 20. If let view model is equal to view model, so if there's something in the view model, then we will show the UI, hstack, button, view model, change month by -1 so that we can navigate to the previous months. Label, image, system, name. The name of this image The system image is chevron.left.circle.fill. .font, title, .foreground, color, .blue. Make the language translator functional. The first thing we need to do is register for an API key. In this lesson, we will create the downloading translation view. So within the application, when the user enters the text that they want to be translated, for example, if I enter hello, and I want that to be translated from English to Spanish, when I click on translate, you'll see a view above here, which will display the word downloading. Learn to build a language translator apps with SwiftUI Master UI Design, API integration, and hands-on projects. Enroll now and start building. The next thing we need to do is to add a text element. And we need to add a spacer first. And then add a text element. View model, get month string. View model, selected date. Font, title 2. Bold. Then we need to add another spacer. And then we need to create another button. The purpose of this button is to enable the user to increment the month by 1 to show the next month. For example, if the user was on April and then press that button, the next month will be May. Chevron.right circle.fill for the system image. .font, title, .foreground, color, .blue. Get some padding, horizontal. And then we create our other button that enables the user to display all tasks or tasks for a selected date. Add a bit of animation. View model dot toggle show all tasks. And then we need a caption for our button, which is a text element. View model dot show all tasks. So if it's true, show all tasks, then the caption will be show tasks for selected date. Else, if the user already clicked on show task for selected date, then the caption would be show all tasks. And then we just style the text element, subheadline, foreground color, which is blue. The next thing we need to create is the weekday header that's at the top of the calendar that will display the days between Saturday and Sunday. That displays the 7 days. To do that, we create or use a H-stack, and then we loop through our get weekdays array using the for each. New model dot get weekdays. We give each weekday an ID. Day in. Text day. That will display the actual day. For example, Saturday or Tuesday. Headline. Frame. Max width. Infinity. Dot foreground color. Gray. There's an error somewhere. Numeric parameter content cannot be inferred. New model, get weekdays. It seems like Xcode was playing up. I think that error message is gone now. Yeah, Xcode was playing up. The next thing we need to do is to get all of the generated days for that current month, days in month. We do that using our view model dot get days in month for view model for the selected date. Next thing we need to do is to create a 7-column layout for our calendar, which is similar to a grid layout. Let columns equals array, repeating grid item dot flexible count 7. And then we need to use a LazyVGrid. Our LazyVGrid will include the following columns from our array. and then we have to add the empty cells at the beginning to align the days. So we just loop through our view model, get the starting day of the week, pass in our view model of the selected date, and then we assign an ID, on line 77, after the two dots we need a less than sign. The next thing we need to do is to use color.clear.frame width of 40, height 40. And then we need to display each day as a tappable button using our for each days in month, ID, cell, day in. We add our button. Within the click event of our button, we add our model.selected day function. Passing the day. That should be selected date, not selected that. So let's just go to that function within our view model and refactor it. On here, in line 45. The next thing we need to do is to I missed out something. After line 78, we should close the for each loop for this one here. Yeah, this is correct. For each, we loop through the days. Add our button. We need a label for our button. That will be within a V stack. Let day number equal calendar dot current dot component day from date. That should be dot day on line 92. And then we display the day number for our calendar. We add a frame, width of 40, height of 40. Background, view model dot get days background, passing the day, and in the view model selected date. And then we just use click shape and make it a circular shape. And the purpose of this is to show the actual count for each task. For example, just say if we had 2 tasks on the same day, it will show 2 within a little circle. But this is where we need to use an overlay, text, view model dot task count for day. Dot foreground color white. Dot font caption 2. Dot padding 5. Dot background circle dot fill. And then we fill it with the color red. Alignment dot top trailing also we need a comma after line 102. Add a bit of padding. And then the next thing we need to do is to set our foreground color. We've got primary. Add our contents menu. purpose of this context menu is to enable the user to quickly add a task for a day. Button, view model, dot task date equals day. View model dot show modal equals true. Then we need to add the label for the button. Label add task system image. We're using plus dot circle dot fill. On line 113, that should be view model. And then we just add some padding. In our next tutorial, we will add the search bar task list that will enable the user to filter the tasks within SwiftData and to display those tasks within the list. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials. Want to build a calendar app in SwiftUI with SwiftData using MVVM? This is the perfect place to start. This is the application we will create. We can create a new task by clicking on any date within the calendar. Each of the tasks will be stored within SwiftData. So the task I will add for this example is mow the lawn. Priority, medium. The task is now added to SwiftData. As you can see, because I added the task to SwiftData, it displays the count on the calendar date that one task has been added. If I add another task, it will increment to 2. For this task, I'll just name it wash the car. Priority low. Click on add. As you can see, it has now been incremented to 2. We can also search for tasks within SwiftData. If I type in CAR, as you can see, car is selected at the top of the list. And we can display all tasks within SwiftData. We can also delete a task. And when I delete the task, the count on the calendar date will be reflected. As you can see, it was 2 originally, and now it's been reduced to 1. So this is the actual application that we'll be creating in this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials. In the previous video, I forgot to pass the new task to the insert method of the context object within calendar view model within the add task function. So that's what we will do now. So within the add task function of the calendar view model class, we need to do the following. Type context.insert new task so that the new task is added to SwiftData context or inserted into the SwiftData context. Everything else looks correct. I'll just compile it now. And then now we need to focus on the calendar view, which we started in the previous lesson also. So within the calendar view, where did we get up to? Yes. After we add additional padding on line 121, we need to add the following that will create our search bar and the task list that will show a list of all tasks that we've added to SwiftData and display those tasks. If view model show all tasks, so if it's true, or view model that should be or not view model task dot is empty. So if it contains data, then we create a B stack, alignment, leading, spacing 0. We need a colon there. And then we also need to create a text field to enable the user to filter for the task that they want to search on. If view model show all tasks, so if that's still true, and it could have changed to false somehow. Text field text field search task, text binding. So what we need to do here, we need to create a get method that will get the search query, and then a set method that allows us to assign a value to the search query property of the view model. So that's get view model search query. Then we need a bracket, comma, think we can delete this bracket on lines 129. And then we need to include our set that will assign the value to our viewModel.searchQuery property. A bit neater. I don't think this one should be deleted. Set property needs to look like this. So viewModel search query equals $0. So now we have the search query value. ViewModel dot fetch task, and that will refresh the results on the change event. And then on lines 134, we need 2 closing brackets, the curvy one. And then I think we can delete one of these brackets. Don't know why it's coming up with these errors. So that's text field, search task, text, binding, get, need to get down below, colon, I need an open bracket after the colon within the get. So I probably need the bracket that I deleted previously to do that. I'll just compile it. I think that fixed the error. So the next thing we need to do is style the text field. Text field style, rounded, border, text field style. Add some padding, got horizontal. Add some padding to the bottom, 20. Add a transition, move, edge, top. So what that would do, it would just move the search text field to the top, a little bit to the top. And now we attempt to populate our task list with model.task. If not, model.task is empty. So if the view model contains data, create a text element called task or caption, add a bit of style, headline, padding, horizontal, and then we will attempt to populate our list. Let's see if the preview works. But I keep on saying sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, because I need a more powerful MacBook. For each view model task ID, so give each task an ID within the list. And then we need a VStack, alignment, leading, spacing, 4. Next thing we need to do is to display the task title within the list. Add bold for the font type. Also display the task view model formatted date. And we pass in the task date to be formatted. And we also add the priority, view model dot priority label task dot priority and then need to add some padding, vertical 4, and we also need to add the on delete button to enable the user to remove a task from the list and also from SwiftData, delete task. We assign the list style to plain. List style. It should be priority, aligned 152. Don't know why it's not picking it up, so let's go to the view model class to see if I spelled it correctly. let's go to the model class of SwiftData, not the view model class. Priority. I spelled it incorrectly. There should be an I. We also need to update the SwiftData attributes so that priority is spelled correctly. It's spelled correctly now, so let's go back to the view. Do it again. Pick it up. Is that correct now? So within the calendar view model, we need to update add task function on line 53. So the new task or the parameters for the task constructor should now look like this. Go back to the view, compile it again to see if it's okay. Just compiling at the moment. Still compiling. Don't know what happened there. Xcode compiler is cancelled. Build. Let me try it again. It's built this time. It's good. I don't know what happened previously. So the next thing we need to do, we need to have an else statement to show a progress view when data is being like loaded or fetched from SwiftData. So we implement this after lines 162. We need an else statement. And then we add our progress view. And you can see the preview, it's not loaded. There's my MacBook, just too slow. The next thing we need to add is a spacer. And then we need to create our .onApair method to initialize our view model. So that's what we're doing now. On a pair, if view model equal to nil, view model equals calendar, view model context. So we need to pass the Swift data context to the calendar view. Argument pass to call text mode argument. Oh, this should be calendar view model, not calendar view. And then we need to show our modal sheet, which allows the user to add a new task. Sheet is presented, finding so we need another get insert property. So we get we test or check to see if the show modal property of the view model is true or false. View model show modal if it doesn't contain a value, we just accept that it's false. And then we need to set the view model. View model show model equals $0. If let view model is equal to view model, so if there's something to show within the view model, no, not something to show. If the view model isn't nil, so that means we can add a new record, a new task, text, add task for view model formatted date. view model task state. So that will allow the user to add a new date that relates to the task. Let's add a bit of padding. Yeah, this video is a little bit longer than expected. What's that one? Enter task. Enter task text. Binding. So we create another get and set property to enable the user to enter the title of the task. Get view model dot task title. Set view model dot task title. Gonna assign 0. It should be binding on lines 182. And then what else do we need to do? We need 2 closing curly brackets, these brackets here. And then we need to set the text field style to be rounded border text field style. Add some padding. The next thing we need to do is to add our picker priority to enable the user to select and assign the priority for the task. Let's picker priority selection binding. I'll just copy what we've done previously. Just so that the video length is reduced a bit for this tutorial. So that should be picker priority selection binding, and then the property should be task priority, and then we need a for each loop to loop through all of the options, task priority for all cases, priority in, text, priority dot priority dot label tag priority. Pilot. The next thing we need to do is to set the picker style, segmented picker style, add some padding to the preview, still not working. And then the final thing we need to do is to add our button that will enable the user to save the task. View model dot add task, label for the button, we have the caption, add task, dot bold, dot frame, max width, dot infinity, dot padding, background. So the background color will be white, dot foreground color, no, that should be foreground color, not foreground style, foreground color, dot white, the background should be blue, not white, the foreground should be white, corner radius, 10, some padding there, add a bit of padding. Now compile it and run it to see if it works or not. Oh yeah, there's something else we need to do. We need to go within our content view to call the calendar. So delete lines 12, just type in calendar view. And also, within your app file, we need to add the following. So delete content view and type in calendar view. And for the model context, model container should be task.self. And the purpose of that line 9, is to inject the model container into the environment which is needed for SwiftData to work. And it's a good idea to import SwiftData as well. Now, I'll try to run it, see if it works or not. And here's the application. I had to restart Xcode again. The computer is playing up. As you can see, it selects today's date as default, which is Friday the 11th. You can add a task by a new Mac. MacBook. Priority high as a task. And it's stored within SwiftData, as you can see. You can navigate backwards, forwards to new dates, show all tasks. If you like the tutorial, please comment, like and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials.